On this episode of The Breakthrough Show, we'll be empowered through music as we welcome singer-songwriter Rorie Kelly to the show. Rorie draws on life experience and the iconic female acoustic vocals from the 90s to fuel her music. We'll talk about her journey, and of course, she'll be performing for us. Then you'll meet the chicken-loving, cult-escaping badass woman, Jessie Shedden. In our conversation, Jessie shares about her love for chickens and how they were therapeutic to her when she drew on the courage within her to escape the cult she was born into. Don't miss this powerful episode that will leave you feeling empowered and ready to take on the world. All this and more coming up on today's show.
Life gives us moments when we have the opportunity to make a choice, and what we choose has the potential to change our lives forever. Join us now for another inspired episode of The Breakthrough. And now, please welcome the creator and host of the show, Jessica Dugas.
Welcome back to The Breakthrough Show. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and I'm super excited to have you here for the daytime talk show, inspiring you to change the way you look at and live your life through inspirational stories and, of course, amazing entertainment. And we have that times like a million for you guys on the show today. I am so pumped up about this episode. In fact, we are recording this portion of the show a couple months before it's going to come out, and I want to put it out tomorrow, but I can't, and I have to wait. So it's going to be so good, though. Coming up later on the show, we have Jessie Shedden here, who is the author of Tomorrow's Not Promised. She loves chickens. You're going to learn that a little bit about her. She has an incredible story. I don't even want to give it away. Just promise me to stay tuned and stay alert and ready for Jessie to come on. But we have an incredible artist coming on first on the show here today that is going to blow you away. Her songs are going to make you cry. Go get your tissues and come back. It's going to be so good. But she speaks for women. She speaks for empowerment. She speaks for people who often don't get spoken for. She has amazing vocals, this songwriter vibe that takes me back to like the incredible women songwriters we had in the 90s. And I love it. I love it. So please welcome to the show for the first time, Rorie Kelly. Welcome, Rorie.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited to have you here. So we have a mutual friend, Kathleen Gubatosi, who I just love to pieces. And Kathleen was on a couple months ago on the show. And when she says, hey, I've got this girl, Rorie, for you. And I'm like, okay. You just don't, you never know what you're going to get. And I'm blown away. I'm blown away by you and your music. Tell everybody a little bit about why music brings you so much joy.
Well, I think music is a type of healing magic, and it has healed me. It has saved my life before in very literal ways. And I kind of had a moment, like a realization about that when I was a teenager. And in that moment, I realized, like, I want in on this. This is what I want to do with my life. I want to be a purveyor of this healing magic. And it changed my life. And at every moment since then, like, I've never looked back.
That's so beautiful. And I have a really kind of powerful question. That's something that we've been throwing around for conversation in my community. And that's that if you knew that the music couldn't reach anyone, would you still do it?
I would, because I wouldn't have a choice but to do it. But I would also like stick my fingers in my ear and be like, no, I'll find a way, because I'm definitely like that level of commitment person.
Yeah. I think so often, I think about how impactful music has been on my life. And I think, I would do it no matter what. But there's that part of us, I think, as entertainers that we want that reaction too. We want it to change other people and help other people. And so if we couldn't, we would be searching desperately to find a way, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not capable of giving up. I learned that about 10 years ago.
Well, tell us a little bit how you got into music. What inspired you? Why music as opposed to other art forms?
I actually thought when I was younger, I thought I wanted to be a writer. And we're talking really young, like 12, 13. And I had a summer, like kind of my transformational summer, when I was turning from 12 to 13. And that's like a big summer. And I happened to spend a lot of time alone that summer, which for me, because I'm an introvert, is like a blessing. That's like, I get to spend a lot of, when I am free to do what I wish to do, I get a lot of growth going on.
Yeah.
And I grew a lot that summer. And I also did what you would call shadow work, like kind of like some of the, dealing with some stuff that was more dark and less feel good as I was coming of age. And in the middle of one of those kind of long, dark nights of the soul, like this song came on. It was Sonny Came Home. It was like all over the radio at that time. Now you know exactly how old I am. But it came on and it just put me in this like kind of blissed out state that made me feel like, you know what, everything's going to be okay. And it was so powerful for me. I was 13. I had never done any kind of like intoxicating substances, but it was very intoxicating for me. And it just felt so right. And I was like, oh, this is it. This is what I'm meant to do with my life.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I was talking to you for a minute before the show about my daughter being 13, and she's in that space of exploring music as an outlet for herself as well. And it's so interesting to watch as her parent, her exploring these different words in these songs that she has no idea yet, like what it even means. And I think about that too, like music that I was into when I was younger, and like I did not know what that meant.
Oh my gosh.
back
I know
then.
what you mean.
What do you think it is about? Do you think it's like the hormones, or like what is it that's connecting us at that age that seems to be like that 12, 13, 14 age, and we're connecting with this deep music? We have no idea.
I think we're just growing into ourselves. That's a transition phase, and it's not the exact moment. Different people have it at different ages, but that's when we start to see who we will be as adults, as separate from our families, as no longer a dependent child. And I think that music helps that transition tremendously. And arts, any art, creativity, we start to learn. And there's this inherent conflict where it's like, okay, I have to pull away from what I knew before in order to grow into what I will be. And that's it's like scary.
Yes, exactly. And it's scary as a parent to watch her go through that, because I remember it, but that was a minute ago. So it was like,
I know what you mean.
I don't remember it. Is this how it looked when I went through it? Because I'm kind of freaked out.
Oh, I don't want to know how it looked when I went through it. I'm sure it was very awkward.
I know that you have released 2 studio albums, and on one of those albums is a song, If You Teach a Bird to Sing. Tell us a little bit about that song and what it means to you.
So this is definitely a song about showing up for yourself and being your own hero when kind of no one else is stepping up to do the job. And I wrote this at a time in my life. I have a tendency to do this. I write the song I need to hear. I wrote this at a time in my life that was like very, very dark. And I kept kind of waiting for, I was in my 20s. I was waiting for like a relationship to rescue me, and it didn't happen. Instead, I got some real relationship drama for like the better part of a year and a half. And I was just sitting on my floor one day going like, this is horrible and it makes me want to die, but I don't want to die. So I'm going to have to find a way. I'm going to have to find a way to pull myself out of it. I guess I'll just figure it out. And that was like a turning point for me. It made me realize it was time to befriend myself instead of fighting against myself.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And isn't it true that some of the most incredible art we can come out with, whether it's music or art or a story or anything, comes from this space of trying to figure it out ourselves. Like we're trying so hard to reach this point or go there or learn something or figure it out. And then comes this song. I am blown away by this song and I can't wait for you to sing it to everyone. So here to perform If You Teach a Bird to Sing, here is Rorie Kelly.
Teach a bird to sing, fly, fly. She gonna learn to fly if you let her sing. She gonna fly if you let her sing. She gonna fly away. You think you got it, cage of brass and a lock and a key. You think she's too dumb to set herself free, but the fact that you locking her up shows you're the dummy. You think you're all of that and a bag full of chips, but you gotta control just to get to your kicks. And the fact that you locking her up shows you're the dummy. And if you teach a bird to sing, she gon' learn to fly if you let her sing. She gonna fly if you let her sing. She gonna fly away. And if you teach a bird to sing, she gon' learn to fly. Let her sing. She gonna fly if you let her sing. She gonna fly away. And singing is 50% confidence. I'm confident I won't be content just to hang around and be a pretty little plaything. And 'cause I see sky on my window, and the sun is rising, 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 just like I will. 'Cause I see sky on my window, and the sun is rising, 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 just like I will. If you teach a bird to sing, she gon' learn to fly if you let her sing. She gonna fly if you let her sing. She gonna fly away. If you teach a bird to sing, she gonna fly if you let her sing. She gonna fly away. If you teach a bird to sing, she gon' learn to fly if you let her sing. She gonna fly if you let her sing. She gonna fly away. If you teach a bird to sing, she gon' learn to fly if you let her sing. She gonna fly if you let her sing. She gonna fly away. If you teach, 'cause I see sky on my window. The sun is rising, rising, rising. She gonna fly just like I will. If you teach, 'cause I see sky on my window. The sun is rising, 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 just like I will. If you teach a bird to sing, she gon' learn to fly if you let her sing. She gonna fly if you let her sing. She gonna fly away.
Wow, that was incredible. I mean, listen, usually when I have people on and they're doing their song, I'm often Jessica Land over here. Like I'm listening, enjoying, because I've listened to the song before. I'm completely like trying not to just stare completely. That was beautiful, Rorie. Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh. It really does take me back to that, like, Sean Colvin and Jewel and, Lisa Loeb, Lisa Loeb was like my favorite.
Me too.
Favorite growing up. It's completely those vibes. So good. Will you come back and do some more at the end for us because we need more.
Oh my God. Yes, please.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and talk to Jessie Shedden, the author of Tomorrow's Not Promised. And then we're going to have more with Rorie coming up at the end of the show. So stay tuned. We'll be back in just a minute.
Hi, my name is Brandon, and over the past year, the Delight Cafe team and I have traveled across the U.S. researching this rapidly growing industry of CBD products. What we have found throughout the industry were products that were inconsistent in dosage and used ingredients that weren't even lab tested. Products with chalky textures, bitter aftertaste, and worst of all, confusion among the CBD consumers. That's why we created Delight Cafe. A 15 milligram, lab-tested, all-natural, water-soluble hemp CBD powder pack. It's odorless, colorless, and tasteless. Add it to your favorite drink of choice, wherever, whenever, on the go. Quickly find your calm, your balance, and your delight when you need it most.
Welcome back to the Breakthrough Show. You know, we can hear stories, third person. We can watch movies about different lifestyles and feel like we've got a grasp of what it is that someone goes through or the kind of life that they live. But I believe that we really get so much of a better idea about things when we talk to someone who's lived through it and someone who has been through the different things that we're fascinated with or we've tried to learn about. And I really, I pride myself on doing these wonderful looking into someone, great introductions and everything else. But when I read our guest today's bio, I thought to myself, there is no better way than I can put this because it's so good. So my guest today is a British Australian chicken loving, cult escaping, badass woman. Is there not anything better than that? I don't think so. And she's here today to talk a little bit about her story and chickens, because why not? Please welcome to the show, Jessie Shedden. Welcome, Jessie.
Thank you so much for having me, Jessica. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's so good to have you here, and I want to talk about all the things, and I'm very excited. So
Where would you like to start?
Oh, I don't know. Well, why don't we start? Share with our audience today something that is bringing you joy, Jessie.
You're limiting me to one. That's hard.
Yes. One.
Okay, today. So today, it's definitely been chickens. I was reminded over the weekend that I'm halfway through pulling together a book of short stories called Fluffy But Love, which is all around chickens and the experiences that people have had. So I today have been collating a lot of those stories, and just like you find with your guests, the incredible experiences that are coming out of that, it's just been lighting me up to see people who've come back from 5 weeks in a coma, not being able to talk, walk, eat, and through their chickens they've got that back because they've had to care for them. It just, and then you see other people who've cared for blind chickens, and I'm sorry, this is probably way off what you're expecting. But I was virtually in tears, and I'm obviously a chicken lover, but she'd sent me these videos and she'd taught the chicken after she'd gone blind that this was food and this was water, but she'd been able to pick up the difference between the two words food and water. Otherwise she was smashing her head into the water. And it was just, and she sent me the video, and it was like, and that to see that helpless chicken that most people would have culled and got rid of being cared for in such a loving way was just, and even went away on holiday with them, stayed in their caravan, because she's pretty helpless. She's a housebound chicken. You're having to care for them all the time, but still giving them an element of freedom. And I think, what respect for life. Historically we would have treated humans the same way as we probably treat a lot of animals that suffer now, and we're not doing that anymore. And I think the love that it was just, a lot, all of those stories have just lit me up today, and it's having my own chickens that have got me through some really horrific times. And as my lovely fiance knows, they come before any man in my life because they've got me through those times, and they've always been there. And it's through them that I've had these connections to be able to write this book and find out even just really heart-touching stories.
I would like to assume, but I'll let you tell me, that that they've been a savior to you at some point.
Absolutely. Absolutely, they have. In my darkest times back in my previous life, they were the only thing I had unconditional love from. And knowing that I could just go there and I wouldn't receive any judgment it was just one outlet. And I knew that when I transitioned from one life to the other, they had to come with me. They had to, although I was downsizing quite a lot in terms of the space I had to keep them. I had to downsize my flock, but there was no ifs or buts about it. They were a part of what had gotten me through, and I never forget.
You've mentioned a little bit about your previous life. You've written a book about your previous life as well. Do you want to share with everybody just a little bit about your background and where you come from, Jessie?
Sure. So I was born into a cult, a strict religious community. The fourth generation, I think, in my family to be. So we had never known anything different. I didn't really know a lot about the outside world, so I only saw it through that lens. And that lens was without TV or radio. We were not allowed to wear jeans. We were not allowed to go to pubs, clubs, restaurants, bars. We didn't go on holiday. There was no staying in hotels, B&Bs. There was no going to cinemas or festivals, any type of entertainment, no sports activities. So we never went to any football matches, soccer. And neither were we permitted to go to skating rinks or anything like that either, even if they're in a shopping mall. We didn't socialize with anybody outside of it. We weren't to marry to anybody outside of it or have relationships. And we tended to work within it as well. So it was very much a very small nucleus of what you could and couldn't, a very small nucleus of what you could do, not what you couldn't. And it made for a very cocooned life. And then growing up, I was schooled normally until I was 7, then I was taken out and homeschooled, left at the age of 16. I had dyslexia but had not been diagnosed at the time, so that was partly why I really didn't enjoy my exams and educational time. And unfortunately, around the same time when I was 16, I was pretty depressed through the bullying that had started from around the age of 8, because just I was different, the dyslexia side of things. And I was unfortunately sexually abused at that time by somebody outside of the cult. That wasn't seen as that, and therefore it was seen that I had sinned and it was my fault, and I was made to see priests and go over intricate details. That was very painful at the time. And then 2 years later, I was already very well aware I didn't think I was ever going to have a relationship inside the cult. I just didn't like what was on offer. I didn't really think like they did. And 2 years later, at the age of 18, I met someone who was a supplier at work who I fell for, and he was outside of the cult. And we started having a contraband relationship for 4 years. Eventually, I couldn't keep a lid on it anymore, and that came to a head. And I was told that I had to tell him I didn't love him anymore, and that was the end of it. And I had to burn everything he'd given me. We didn't have any IT, so I didn't have any way of saving anything electronically. Right. And I was useless with numbers, so I couldn't remember his telephone number. But I knew where he lived and where he worked. And then for 8 years, I basically surrendered who I was as a person, because I thought, well, look, I'm just getting myself into trouble doing the things that actually feel right to me. I'm now under house watch. I had already been under house watch because of what happened at 16, and then at 18, I was under more intense house watch, house arrest, really. I couldn't go anywhere without someone traveling with me. Every minute of my time was accounted for, and that continued right through till I was 30. And during that time, I just surrendered my whole identity and went, I just have to fit in. The only way of me existing is to fit in. And it just got to the point where it wasn't untenable in the end. It was like, I can't keep surrendering who I am. I can't hide who I am. And yet I can't display it either. And I'm looking at a situation which is futureless. I'm looking at suicide or a chance at a new life, because I'm not allowed to own a business. I'm not allowed to have responsible positions in a business. I don't like any of the options that are on offer for marriage. I can't leave my parents' house unless I get married. I've got no responsibility, and I'm 30 and I'm being watched every minute of every day, and it's driving me insane. Sadly, at the time, my mother was diagnosed with cancer and I was her primary carer, and it was like everything's just coming to a head, and I'm trying to be there for everybody else, and all of this shit's going on inside, and it's just a
Right.
pressure cooker, and it's the lid's ready to come off.
Yeah. I know I don't want to get into too much of it because I feel like people can get your book and they can read it and get into the details. But the one thing I do want to ask is if what you went through inside of this cult community is similar to how we see in movies and on TV about cults. Is it really that difficult to leave as we see it is? Because I think sometimes those of us on the outside of those situations can look in and say, well, why didn't you just go? Like, how hard is it to just were you literally changed to your bed? You know, what is happening here? And so tell us just briefly about what it was really like to experience it, that like, why didn't you just leave?
So I think the two things I would say is, one is it's a bit like a domestic abuse situation because it's emotional abuse. So there's physically, yes, you can, but there's a lot of fear attached to it, a lot, because you know the repercussions are going to be great. And the second thing I would say is, for me, and this is the only way I can put it, is it's like if I asked you to go and join the animal kingdom now and never come back. You've seen the animals, they're around you, you've coexisted with them, you're in the same world as each other, but you don't know their limitations and you don't know their freedoms, and it's not a word you're familiar with. And although it might look nice from where you are, you have no idea what you're setting yourself up for. And that effectively, and I'm not calling everybody outside of the cult an animal, but that's how it was. You know, I'm going into a world I'm not prepared for. I don't know anything really about. I've lived along beside it, but I'm way out of my depth. I know I'm vulnerable. It was interesting because I now host Zoom calls for a number of us who have left, and we get to catch up and exchange our experiences. And I had one last night, and all three of us had known in our early teens that we wanted to leave, but none of us have felt prepared enough at that point to leave. And I waited. Well, I don't know if I waited, but it took me from I was 18 to 30 to feel I had my finances in enough position to have the balls to do it, and that I would be able to take care of myself. And even then, I had to talk to a counsellor who was able to help me go through it. And I think also, you know what you're going to lose. You don't necessarily know what you're going to gain. So you know you're going to lose your family. You know you're going to lose everything you've ever known. And you're going into a void. You don't know what's on the other side. It really is as difficult as it's said, yes. I couldn't talk to a soul about it before I did it within. This is not a question of just going to your parents and sitting down and saying, look, I think this is what I'd like to do. Let's have a back and forth chat. It does not work like that.
Yeah. What was that moment for you? Do you remember, going, this is it now, is the time?
That was back in December 2016 when I did some self-development work, and one of the questions was, if you were lying on your deathbed now, what was it you'd like to have accomplished in your life? And I was like, well, by heck, I'm not living anywhere near the kind of life I want at all. And at that point, I had two people I was relatively close to die, one in a car crash, and I had an unread email in my inbox from her. And I spoke to her brother, who was standing at the side of the road, still at the accident, on the phone about it. And then about a month later, somebody I was working with on a committee, I was working with him that night. He went home, dropped dead, and was found by his wife the next morning. He was dead on the floor. And it was like, these people are being cut off. He's 55, she was in her 30s. And then on February 14th, the following year, after I'd done that exercise, so literally 3 months later, my mother was then diagnosed with cancer at the age of 66. And they gave her weeks to a year to live. And every time it was just getting closer and closer home. It was like, Jessie, you don't know how long you've got anymore.
What are some of the things that you have discovered about yourself the last couple of years that maybe you didn't know before?
Just linking on to what you were saying there, I'm a major fixer,
Mm,
major. But I've had to realize a couple of things. One is that sometimes you can want for people to be fixed more than they want it themselves.
yes.
And oftentimes, in my case, I've been fixing people because I haven't wanted to look at my own shit that needed fixing. It's just
Mm,
given me a way of not looking at my own problems and dealing with them. And I've had to really learn that, particularly in a relationship situation, actually trying to fix somebody is highly disrespectful. If you cannot accept them at where they are and love them at where they are, you can't expect them to grow into something. And by working on my own shit, that rubs off.
right.
Whether it's money mindset or what it is, while you're in your own work, doing your own work, you can't help it. When you're doing your own work, people see that and they pick up on it, and it starts to rub off, and they start to do the same in their own way rather than you making them, which is it's a violation. It's a benevolent violation, but it is a violation all the same.
Mm,
And I would spend far too much time trying to fix people. And it's like,
right.
they don't want to be fixed. They
Yeah.
want to be loved and given a safe space in which to blossom. And I love my partner for doing that for me. And it's been a really valuable lesson. He's never said to me, you need to heal or anything like that. It's very much around, I'm giving you the space and all the support you need for whatever you need to and want to do.
Right. And you've needed, with everything that you've gone through, you have needed a little extra breathing room to figure out who Jessie is. And I'm not going to talk about a certain, so those of you guys who watch the show all the time, I always talk about a specific movie where somebody discovers who they are. I promise you, I'm not going to talk about that again today. But it's that I talked about this where my husband and I just had our 10-year anniversary. And um, one of the things that I said about him and I expressed to him that I hadn't said before was thank you for giving me the space to figure out who I am because I didn't have that before. And it wasn't even a situation like you had been in, but I still, like you said, you can get into these relationships when you're in an abusive relationship. It's like, yes, you can leave, but there's so much fear involved and there's all this other stuff that happens. And you lose your identity, you lose who you are, and at some point you stop trying to figure it out too. So I'm so excited and happy for you that you are in this relationship that provides that space for you to just figure it out, because that's really important.
It has been massively, and it just amazing the way the whole thing has worked out, because I feel like I'm in this cocoon. Because I tend to date up, so there's a 29-year gap between us,
Mm.
and his children are very similar to me in age, and now I feel like I've actually got siblings again, which is lovely because I don't have that contact with my own family. They've
Mm.
been massively supportive and welcoming, and without this sounding really crazy, and I know it takes a level of eye-opening to appreciate this, but his ex, who they hadn't really seen eye to eye with between the two of them until probably 2 years ago, is actually almost like a mother to me. And that's
Mm.
just this whole cocoon of which was entirely appropriate for me in my situation. Somebody else might well have not wanted that, but I feel like it's very much provided for this chapter in my life. I don't have any idea what's going to happen in the future chapters, and I'm not willing any relationship not to continue, but it's just so appropriate right here and now for this healing to take place.
Mm. And that's such a good lesson too. There's a lot of angst in the world and a lot of like really tough relationships, and we want to be right and we want to argue all the time. And there's all of these things, and it has to be this way because they're my cousin or they're my uncle or they're my mom or they're whoever, or they can't be this because they're not related to me. I think if imagine what could happen if we just open our minds a little bit and think about how about we just love each other and then see where that goes. Imagine what could happen.
There's so much fear and a feeling of needing to conform that it makes it so much hard work. And it's one thing I've been really fascinated to have my eyes open to in setting up these monthly Zooms for the ex-members. They're all going, well, I don't want to have one with people I don't know, and I don't really like talking to other ex-members. And I'm like, I can see all this fear just flaring up, and I'm like, trust me. I mean, I don't say it to them because if it's not appropriate for them, it's their call, but I only want this to be a safe space. There's going to be no judgment in it. It's going to be loving and it's going to be happy. People are going to share things that they need to get off their chest. But if it's not appropriate for you, and they're like, well, I couldn't come every month. And I'm like, you don't have to come every month. Just come. And this constant, all these fears coming up of conditioning. And it's like, it's not at all like that. And I'm not going to be offended if it doesn't work for you. That's absolutely fine, because you'll know if you're meant to be there. And if you're not meant to be there, that's obviously meant to be right too. And it's just letting go of these pressures we put on ourselves.
Yeah. I feel like this time is almost like a rebirth for you of trying to learn it again and figure it out again. And what if you imagine this as a rebirth time for you, like what's next for you? You're sort of in the baby years. What's going to happen with Jessie in the teenage years?
I had a few of those, I'll tell you. It's not nice having your teen years in your 30s, because people think you've going through an early midlife crisis. Little do they realize you never had a teenage period. I don't know. I would have to definitely say right now, I have my big goals, but I'm in a kind of in a weird space with these 2 years, one finishing and one starting, and I'm conscious that I don't know when you're releasing this as well, which I'm sure you'll cut this out. It kind of feels like a new year, but it doesn't, because a lot is continuing, a lot of uncertainty. I will definitely keep working on my goals. For me, now that my foundational level has been set and I've got my foundation on which I can stand, it's about sharing the learnings from my journey with as many women as I can reach for their benefit. And finally realizing the motivational speaking dream that I've had since the age of 16, which I've really had no possibility to do at the time. And and reaching out for my empire, which was definitely not a possibility in years gone past. Women didn't own businesses, never mind empires, and certainly not under their own name. That was too egotistical. So it's seizing those things that are of a lot of importance now that Pandora's box has been opened and those options are available.
I love it. I know that big things are coming for you, and it's really interesting because through the last couple of years, as we've had different people on the Breakthrough Show, you can make great connections with people, and that's great. And then sometimes you meet someone and you're like, something big is going to happen here. You got to come on the show right now before you're too big to go. I don't think so, Jessica.
No, it's not going to be like that. The latter part will not be like that. I'm not saying anything big won't happen, but I would like to think that no matter what happens, the humility is still there, because it's real people that you want to connect with.
Yeah, I love that. And I don't ever want to be at the place where I have to say, I'm not going to get enough out of that to do it. You know what I mean? Like I never want to get to that spot. And I think it's beautiful when we can connect with people that are on all different levels, because that's how we learn. That's how we grow. And that's also how we have that humility and that gratitude for places that we've been in the past as well. And remembering what it was like to not have the support and to be able to be that support for somebody, I think is incredible. I want to sit and talk to you for 12 more hours, but I'm not going to do that to you. I know that you have written your book and that you have other things that you do. We want to tell everybody a little bit about the book and what you have going on and where they can find you.
Sure. So yes, I released my memoir last year, Tomorrow Is Not Promised, which you can download the first chapter of that over at my website, jessieshedden.com/book, or it's also available for purchase on Amazon. I am in the process of bringing out another couple of books. One, of course, is a collection of short stories on chickens, very different. And at the moment, we are as far as a Girl Legends Revealed, which is a Facebook group, which is the waiting station for the program I will be bringing out to share all the process I've been through to get from A to B and how others can do the same.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Jessie, for being so vulnerable to share your story, for putting yourself out there. It's not for anybody that's like, oh, she said it so easily. It's not easy to and to continually relive it every single time you tell your story. So thank you for that, and thank you for the work that you're doing in the world, and for being a safe space for people. I think that's so important with everything that's going on. I just I appreciate everything you're doing, and thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you very much for having me and giving me the opportunity to share the story.
Absolutely. All right, guys, make sure you check the show notes for all of Jessie's information, and we'll be back in just a minute for more of The Breakthrough Show. Breakthroughs are about more than you might think. They're about discovering who you are, digging deep, reaching to the core of your soul. They're about healing yourself, understanding your beliefs, creating a ripple effect. And it's not just those initial moments that matter. It's about using them to bring more joy into our own lives and the lives of others. It's about having fun, letting loose, enjoying every moment life has to offer. It's about finding a safe space. It's about creating connection. Join us each and every month for exclusive programming, where we invite you to go beyond the breakthrough. So we ask you, are you ready? We'll see you online at thebreakthroughshow.com. Welcome back to The Breakthrough Show. I want to give a huge thank you to my special guest today, Jessie Shedden. She was fantastic. Make sure you guys check out the show notes and see where you can find all of her information and how to connect with her. And of course, purchase her books as well. We're back now with new friend of the show, Rorie Kelly, who's going to sing one of her new songs for us called This Girl.
Sorry, but we found somebody else. Sorry, but we can't afford to pay you tonight. Sorry, I had to cancel, I hope it's alright. I'm so far from alright. I come out the other side. And this girl won't back down, won't back down. This girl won't back down. This girl won't back down, won't back down. This girl won't back down. Oh, 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 sorry if it really went down like that. I had no idea. I guess it must have been painful for you. I guess you're okay now. I guess guess I gotta suck it up and press on. I guess I'll be alright. I guess the nightmares will remind me that I got to the other side, 'cause I can't live inside the past. The time just goes so fast. And this girl won't back down, won't back down. This girl won't back down. Oh, this girl won't back down, won't back down. This girl won't back down. Oh, I learned you get punished for speaking out. I learned to be strong and never shut my mouth. I learned the resistance is fuel. I won't let you make me a fool. I use the resistance as fuel. 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 This girl won't back down, won't back down. 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 I use the resistance as fuel. I use the resistance as fuel. I use the resistance as fuel. Oh.
Yes, that was amazing. I mean, just in what we were talking about on the break and everything, it just ties everything together, and Jessie's story and all of this. So you have a new album coming out called Shadow Work will be out by the time this is out. Tell us a little bit about that album, how'd that come to be, and what can we expect on it?
So it's called Shadow Work because I was doing shadow work at the time. And just to give like a kind of overview of what that is, like the shadow is all the parts of our personality that we push aside over the year. We're like, this is not safe for human consumption. I'll just bury this. It'll be fine. And shadow work comes up a lot when you go after your dreams. Like, people don't think about this. Like, they think, oh, it's this beautiful, positive process. And what happens is it brings up all your inner demons. Yeah. And so I kind of was facing off with my inner demons, like left and right. And I just was like, I don't know anything to do other than write songs. Like, that's my healing. That's my therapy, you know? So I just like wrote my way through it. And I've learned that like when I share even my darkest thoughts in this form, someone else hears them and they see themselves, and then we both end up feeling healed from it. You know, it's like, that's the magic of music to me. So I was like, okay, I'm putting this out. I'm putting out the darkest album I have ever written and we'll see it. But I think it was divine timing. Like, I think 2020 was the year of accidental shadow work for so many people. Yeah. And I think we all need that. And then the last year I've spent online sharing my original music and just like growing a small community of people who are really, really excited about art and healing and creativity. And I'm just in love with it. Like, it's so much deeper. It's so big. So I really feel like live streaming is the future for me, because it lets me connect with so many more people in such a real, authentic way, you know?
It's really interesting what all of this time has taken us to realize, as far as coming online and everything. I've been in the online space for quite some time now, before it was the 2020 cool thing to do. And there was so many people though that fought back with me of saying like, that's not real life, Jessica. You can't like, it's not the same as being in person. And one of my biggest pet peeves is when people call offline real life, because I'm like, I put 100% into my online relationship. So are you saying I'm not real? Like, what are you
right,
saying here? Right. And so it's offensive to me in some kind of way. But if you look at it though, it's not that much different from watching something on TV the way we would. So watching somebody streaming online or, and in fact, it's more interactive because now you can type things.
Yeah.
You can have a conversation while you're doing it, get to know people. It's more interactive. It's like TV to the next level. And why can't people see that? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's beautiful. And I have to say, like, when I was a teenager, like, in a very, very small town where I was kind of the only weirdo, like in my grade or whatever, the internet was my lifeline. Like, it saved my life. I think if I had been born 10 years earlier and the internet was not a thing, again, now you know how old I am. I don't know I don't know how I would have come out of it. The fact that I was able to connect with people of like mind, even if they lived a few states away, it saved my life, You know
what I found in reflection of that was that in the 80s, I feel like I was almost forced to have relationships with people that weren't of best interest to me, like, because it's like, who else is there? You got to have a relationship with somebody. Yeah. And so I feel like with the internet and everything now, and with all the social media and all the avenues we have to get to know each other, it's opened up. And now I feel like I have a choice of who gets to be in my circle and who I get to create a relationship with. And it's been beautiful for me because, like, I grew up in New England and now I live in the South, and it's another planet. I tell people that all the time. And there's a lot of things that I do that I know you're into as well, with tarot and things like that are not necessarily mainstream conversation here in Alabama, but so being online helps me find my people as well. And I love that that's been your experience too. Rorie, share with everybody where they can find you and your music.
Oh, thank you so much. So, if you like what you've been hearing, you can hear me live like this every Monday night. I do a live stream called Monday Night Muses. It's on Twitch, twitch.tv/Rorie Kelly, RorieKelly is how you spell my name. And you can find my music on pretty much anywhere you listen to streaming music. If you pop my name, Rorie Kelly, in there, you'll find me. If you go to my website, though, RorieKelly.com, you can sign up for the mailing list and learn about things as I'm putting them out, and also do things like order CDs and vinyl if that's your jam.
We love that Rorie's one of the first people that we've had on that offers her music on vinyl, and we're just all about that here.
I'm so excited. It's my first time doing a vinyl release. I'm like thrilled. I'm over the moon.
That's awesome. It's awesome. Rorie, thank you so much for being here today. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I would love for you to come back anytime. I could just drown in the music all day.
Thank you. I'm happy to lovingly drown you.
All right, you guys, it has been an incredible episode today. I want to thank my very special guest, Jessie Shedden, and of course, Rorie Kelly. Make sure you guys take the time to check out the show notes. Also, in the show notes today, we're going to make sure to have the link down there for our Breakthrough Show playlist, where you can listen to songs from Rorie Kelly, songs from all of the fantastic musicians that have been on the show on your Spotify, which we love to just put a whole mashup. It's like mixtape, but not. Now I'm showing my age. So we're going to make sure you check that out as well. It's been an incredible show. Thank you all for watching or listening wherever you are in the world. And just remember to make every day a great day for a breakthrough. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Breakthrough. Please visit our website at www.thebreakthroughshow.com and be sure to join our After the Breakthrough community powered by Patreon. We look forward to seeing you next week. Same time, same place.